What is up, Preacher fans? We are talking about the season 3 finale, episode 10, The Light Above, and holy hell, this episode was good. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, get it on this chance. It's our last chance.
No, I'm gonna let you guys have that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Preacher After Show. Super excited about this finale. I am your host, Alana Jordan, and we are talking about season 3, episode 10, The Light Above. Joining me today, our full panel.
Oh, we're all here.
We're all here.
The family's all here.
Dave and I aren't the same person.
We aren't.
Oh,
See?
you can prove
Everyone
it.
thought.
Unless this is a very successful split screen.
Oh.
That's true.
Stop giving away the
Giving our
secrets.
secrets away.
Okay.
Wow.
That was-
What? Okay.
What happened?
I don't know. Have we not started? What's happening?
Oh, okay. We're good. We're
Okay,
wonderful.
we're good.
All right. Here right now. Hello, everyone. Okay, cool. We'll keep going.
Okay.
God, is that you?
Oh, I'm so glad God has blessed us.
Yeah, sorry.
Let
we're
us
hearing
know we're
things.
doing a great show. Okay.
Makes sense for our show that God would be speaking to us.
Mm-hmm.
But before we speak about God, let's let everyone know who we are.
Oh, hi, I'm Dave Child, everybody.
Hey everyone, this is Chauncey Robinson.
What's up, guys? Nate Miller here.
And again, I'm Alana Jordan, but let's talk about this finale episode. We've got some weird stuff going on
Yeah, it's
in
okay.
the background here. We don't really know what's happening.
We hear
yet
the
in
sound of
Geneva,
God and
but
Satan in our
Like
ears.
everything, it's chaotic because of what's happened in
Yeah.
this show.
Very thematic.
It's very, very thematic.
Yes.
Now, this episode, I thought was friggin' phenomenal. I feel like we're all probably on the same boat here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the kickoff of this one, too, they keep doing these callbacks of this road going into Angelville.
Mm-hmm.
We see the chicken. We see all this stuff happening. We get young Jesse.
You're obsessed with this chicken.
I am. I love it. I love the
You're like-
I keep
callback.
not
feel like-
noticing it.
Well, I feel
Really?
like every
Yeah.
single
I
episode
love it.
you've mentioned and
Friggin' love
focused
it.
on this chicken. It's been great.
I just
still
love
have
all the
not noticed
callbacks on the
chicken.
road. It's Jesse's literal road to salvation that we keep seeing, and this time it's actually played out where we see him in the bedroom with God there. We see him at the table with Satan there. We
Yeah.
see this duality, and then he almost kills his grandma, stops himself, and we see he's going back to see Tulip and literally passes himself on the road. The cinematography of this, of the muted road of him as a kid, and then him as Jesse now, this opening sequence, this cold open, I thought was, I think, just indicative of how phenomenal this finale was.
Well, you saw in this opening that Jesse is just Genesis.
Yeah.
He's a
basically.
mixture of like an angel and a demon.
Yeah.
And he's both of them, and that's why he's able to hold Genesis. And yeah, the black and white crossing and just talking to himself as he crosses it. Just like it's nice to have this artistic lean on like the final episode.
And I love too that that's the big thing that he keeps circling back to is that Angelville has been in the back of his head because as a kid he had the opportunity to kill Grandma. He had this chance and he didn't take it because of the morality, which ultimately now is, as you say, what leads to him being Genesis. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
I thought it was pretty eerie, the whole thing of like God sitting there in one part and then the devil sitting in the other part, and just like you all were saying, like just the look of it, I was kind of creeped out a little bit. I mean, I know we've seen God and Satan in these funny parts, but just that opening was like, wow. Like it was it was creepy.
Yeah, because they're not saying anything.
No, they're just watching him as though they've been watching him for a long time now.
Yeah, you get a sense as a real like who's the guy from the Bible? Job? Is it Job that had to like who got like was in that bet with Satan and God? And it felt he had that feeling to him. It feels like they're both kind of competing over him a little bit. And where does he lie? Because they know how important he's going to become, or something.
And then the importance of free will that they keep echoing throughout too. So I thought that this was really phenomenal. And seeing finally the confrontation, him walking in, sweet TC though, reminding us
my
like he's
God.
not
I
just
felt
an
bad.
actual goat humper.
I did feel a little bad.
How did this? how did this show make us feel so bad for TC?
I know.
He's someone who's in the comics, now that we could definitely talk about him, because in the comics, he is just a cartoon character hillbilly.
Yeah.
Like, he really just shows up and goes like, I screw a lot of animals, and that's about it. And then he, like, screws a lot of animals. Yeah. And then walks away. But in the show, you feel like you feel for him the most out of all the family. Because he's just this kind of innocent animal screwing soul, in a way.
I think the line where he's like, there has to be a non-violent answer, just him.
I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at that part.
There has to be a
when he got burned alive?
solution.
No, not that part.
Oh, okay.
What she was
No.
saying when he comes in, he's like, we have to find a non-violent situation,
Yes,
as though
yes.
this guy's like a freedom fighter or something. And it's just like, this whole time you guys have been very violent, so now you want a non-violent.
I love how he frames the way that Grandma's treated him. Like, I know she's done you a little bit of bad now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
okay.
she's still your grandma.
It just shows how depraved they are too. And we'll see with Jody. It's just such dysfunctional, toxic relationships that even their normal's not normal. So to him, it's like you said, like TC's like, well, I know she's done some bad stuff. It's like, wow,
No, TC just doesn't.
that's not normal.
It's the only family he has, so
Exactly.
he sees them as family, and I mean he sees them as family, not that he's actually family. We don't
Not
have to get
open
into
that
that
can of
talk
worms
again.
again.
But like so he's totally lost without him, and even though he's the last remaining one, he could be the last remaining one. He doesn't want to do that. He's just like too
Juxtaposed
devoted
with the
to that.
fight with Jody and seeing TC, doing his opening spiel and his like giggle, like I've always wanted to say that, even though he just shot himself in the foot,
And
literally.
even he looks at the camera, he looks at us for a second.
Yeah.
There. He goes like, I always wanted to say that. And he has like a nice moment where he turns.
I loved
I
it.
feel like the writers knew that they endeared us so much to TC that
Yeah.
they couldn't just kill
kill him.
him.
Yeah.
That there
It's a
had
nod
to
to
be
us,
a way to get rid of him, but to still kind of, have us as viewers reconcile with the fact that he's gone, outside of Jesse just killing him, this character that we've kind of come to like, especially when Jesse's been so difficult to like as of late, that now he's just starting to come into his own. Or kind of like him a lot, that if he comes and kills this weird and a little bit obscene character, but who's kind of likable in his own weird way,
Right.
I don't think that would play very well. So I think they handled it really well.
Also, Renji90998 in the chat says TC is the lesser of three evils.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Versus, we see Jody literally get chained around the neck and beat against the wall, like one of the most intense scenes that we've seen.
And he deserved that.
Yes.
Like, he totally
like,
deserved
literally
it. I was
picking up
not.
the lighter.
Yeah, I wasn't sad at all. I was like, finally, you're standing up to this.
Right.
I
also felt like that scene, I don't know if you guys felt like this, but like, I've been waiting for the Jesse from the comics a little bit, and I feel like the moment when he's like, no, I'm not going to use the voice, I'm just going to beat you myself, was more like the Jesse from the comics that I wanted. Like, it was nice. We're in the right direction. We're heading towards that goalpost.
Because he feels that justified vengeance at this point, too,
Yeah.
and having it really echoed with the lighter and was showing, his father getting shot again and the callback of that one, and seeing him say, we don't cry, we fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I really liked it, and I agree with you to an extent. My issue was, as I was watching it the first time, the feeling that I was getting, even just as the fight was going on, is what changed that he is now all of a sudden able to beat him? Because they fought earlier in the season. And the only thing that's changed, at least from what I have seen, is that Jesse has the voice now.
And
he
his soul.
doesn't use the voice. Right, so does the soul help him fight better?
It's just his more enraged, because we even see him when he takes the board with the nails and he smacks him in the face, and he even says, that was different. Is it Jesse's bringing his A game for the first time? He's been holding himself back.
I mean,
Also-
that's a
Because
comic
it's his
reference.
family.
Also, there is something
Yeah,
that's
too,
revealed that TC says is like, oh, it's the anniversary of his mother's death. Too.
Yeah.
So I think there's one, the confidence he has from getting the voice and his soul back, and two, the kind of anniversary vengeance he feels like he has, and he knows that like, I have the voice, I can actually kill Grandma now, and if I can kill Grandma, I can kill Jody the way I want to kill Jody. And I think it's just that that confidence and frame of mind is the only thing that Will is actually supporting him, which is something we've been missing from Jesse, because Jesse's so like, oh, I don't know, like the last couple of seasons, and it's been like a long journey to get him to like a confident place, and I'm glad he's finally there. Where he's like, no, I could definitely beat the crap out of you.
Yeah, I think that's a big reason that Tulip has been more endearing than Jesse, arguably, kind of leading up into this point that we've been kind of talking about. And now Jesse is finally starting to act a little bit more like Tulip would in that situation, where it's a take no shit scenario, where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to stand up for myself. Like, you want to bring this? You want to mention my dad and how you killed him in front of me? Well, now I'm going to beat your ass into the wall.
Right.
I think it's that conviction, you know, like that's just kind of, you saw that passion that was there. At first I felt like when he first got there was kind of, it wasn't defeatist, but it was like, okay, eventually we'll get there. I'll be able to do it. But like you said, it's like the whole idea of the father and being reminded of that, and then the audience being reminded of that with flashback and everything. It was more so like this was, like TC said, he was like, today was the day, wasn't it? Right. You know, today was it. You know, and
also there's Ivan in the chat also mentions that apparently we don't always get to watch what the showrunners say afterwards. The way I watch it is like online, and that's not always an option. So apparently the showrunners also said that Jody talking about Custer's father was the last straw that gave him the strength to defeat Jody too.
Yeah, so I mean, I get all of that. It makes sense to me. I enjoyed it a lot, seeing him defeat Jody and the way it played out. I just would have liked a little bit more of a signal of like, here's the change. Here is why now he's going to beat the snot out of
Later, when he's talking to
maybe
Grandma.
it's just me. Maybe I just missed it. That's very possible.
Incredibly
Grandma, when he's talking about
it's very, very possible for me to be wrong.
No, I totally get what you're saying, because it's not set up prior to Jody. It's after, when he's talking to Grandma.
Right, later, yes.
And so it's reinforced later, and then it's like, oh, okay, so this is the day. Like, today is the day. Here's the explanation.
Right.
I think that the reason that they did that was just to give that scene with Grandma more impact.
Oomph. Yeah.
But I do get what you're saying, is that if they had a little bit more time, I think they could have probably fleshed it out a little bit more and explained why, like, no, this is it.
Yeah, I think personally, I got it from the walk down the road. I think that, like, walk down the road is like, now he's got the confidence.
Yeah, because he was like, you should have killed her. And, like, of course, his younger self, like, well, you can do it now.
Well, yeah.
You know,
Now's
he got
your
a chance to talk to his younger self. And it's like, now it's like, today is, like, you know.
Today's the date.
Yeah, it was the conviction of all that. And it was powerful, especially when Jody was like, you know, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
You know, which is from the...
Yeah.
That is
which
from
I
the
thought
comics.
was pretty cool.
I was glad that they did that.
And I really loved the text exchange with Tulip too.
Yeah, that was cute.
When he throws the cigarette and then the music, because that moment hits hard when he's throwing the cigarette into the gasoline, and you know, we have to say goodbye to this character, but having that music crescendo and then lead into
the text, and also the text exchange using the same preacher font that we've been using for like the locations and everything.
I love it.
I've never seen that before, and that was
It worked.
It was pretty brilliant.
Really great.
And just what are you doing? Gonna go kill Grandma, BRB, and then just the thumbs up.
Yeah, but first the dot, dot, dot.
She's typing,
The
and that's what she says.
The timing was
So
impeccable.
perfect.
Yeah.
This
I thought it was funny. I did think it was funny because I did write down up to the point where he goes to fight Jody. I was like, has he even checked on Tulip? I was writing that down. I was like, has he called her? Does he know that she's on a bus to hell? Like, what is going on? So when that text message came up, I was like, oh my God, they knew what I was thinking. Because I was like, when was he going to call this girl to check in?
Yeah.
now, you know who has been really thinking about knows what I'm thinking? And this is the transition.
Oh, man. Transition.
I was getting it ready, girl.
I would love to have my after shows all lined up in a way that is so easy for me to watch. How can I do that, Chauncey?
I'm going to miss these transitions after today. It's the transitions that make that love.
Our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows. From dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more, there's no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments, and we'll thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But legitimately, now that Preacher is ending, that's a good way to find other shows that you might enjoy and then lead into some things that you may not have watched. I've found that a lot, is that I've had some hosts that have hosted different things on different for different after shows, and because I like them, went and started watching the show. So you can find cool stuff that way.
Yeah, you gotta go down the rabbit hole of watching.
Yeah.
Now, the meeting of Grandma with Jesse, though.
Yes.
That was just...
Yes. I don't know. I just was like...
If there were not like 5 gifts of you by the end of this episode, then our fans have let us down.
I just love how like they do a good job of building up how evil she is.
Yes.
And throughout this entire season, and really kind of pushing it over the edge in this episode too, with the flashback and this moment, and just having that like establishing early on in the episode that he's afraid of hell, and that's really what he's most afraid of is hell, and then seeing that she's tricked him once again in this deal she made with how did she describe him?
You're free of me, you won. Oh, her
gentleman caller.
Gentleman
Satan.
caller. Oh, that's a great way to describe
Ew.
Satan.
Ew.
If you're grandma,
Gentleman caller.
gross.
I just put together what that meant.
Yeah.
I did have a
I didn't really
question
think about
though.
it.
I
Really?
didn't understand.
Yeah,
I
just
immediately
trying
was
not
like,
to think about it.
I did have a question. I didn't understand. How can she make a deal about his soul?
Well,
She
she
had-
was in possession
Oh,
of it
because
at
she
the
at
time.
She
the
has
time.
right, yeah.
But if she freed him, does she still have that?
The deal was already made.
She
The
already
deal's
made the deal.
sealed. They
Yeah.
sealed the deal.
It's like if I own $100 and I give him the $100 to purchase something, but then you take the thing that I purchased, he still has the $100. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it
No,
helps.
none of that
But-
helps. But
Like, I get where you're trying to go with
Right.
it. I got it.
yeah.
I'm picking up
I
what
just
you're
feel
laying down.
like I think
It was
fairness,
valid at the
though.
time of the transaction. So,
It's kind of like buying.
But somehow
someone's debt.
Jesse still owes.
but
Satan.
also, Satan's dead now.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah,
Well-
I
and all the
still-
rules
okay.
don't matter
Wow.
anymore.
But
Yeah.
But
is
at
the
this
contract
point-
with Satan or is the contract with hell?
Right, because,
mean,
Because,
the business
yeah.
of hell.
clearly we
Hell.
see it's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think
I was
that
just
it's
kinda confused
basically-
about that, but
yeah,
okay.
is that this is a contract, so this is a big deal for him. Is that he knows if he kills Grandma, he's gonna go to hell, and it's this whole, him stopping on that road again, the literal road where he stops, and then the cinematography of it turning around and revealing young Jesse in the passenger seat
Yeah.
again, being like, she's right, I won, so why? It's like, doesn't feel like it.
I think this was such a good fake out for me because
Yeah.
I really I didn't I expected her to die in this episode, but when they revealed the hell thing and they started to drive away, I really thought like, oh, I guess they're gonna milk. Ugh, I hate to say milk her, but like I know they're gonna like
It's the right word.
I thought they were gonna use this character even more, even though like I'm a little disappointed with that because I feel like they've used up her as much as possible, but I
then
thought
now
she was going
literally
to stick
they
around.
used her up.
Yes, and I also love how I think there's an added detail, and they like to figure out ways to make characters look the most like the characters from the comic. And in her dying moment, when everything is sucked out of her, she actually looks like how they draw Grandma in the comics.
Yeah.
Like almost exactly like she's
I did
sagging
really, really
and
like
bald.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a really, really nice touch because you could tell that was clearly a design choice because they asked whoever the makeup
Yeah.
department to make the prosthetics look that way. I think that's so dope.
Yeah, it was a
I
good
love that
nod.
you can tell that everybody who works on the show is a huge fan of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
genuinely are giving 100%, and so we're getting. I mean, I really think that they should submit this episode as a for your consideration for Emmys.
Yeah.
Like, this is the one that I'm like, this is perfectly edited.
I think
That
it's well
scene-
written too because they
Yeah,
also
perfect.
even in this exchange, what they're basically dealing is the guilt that comes from actually killing a family member. It should damn you. But in this case, we have this grandma who's super, super evil. So there's a large part of us that's like, yeah, but this family member you can kill. So they actually make it more literal by being like, no, there is a contract in place that if you kill your grandma, you will
Yes.
actually go to hell. No matter how evil she is, you're going to hell. And so they're making that moral kind of conundrum like more literal, which is good writing. I think.
I think so too, and that I think perfectly ties into Tulip's storyline where
Yeah.
we see the literal representation, this fight, this face-off, which again is so perfect because it encapsulates how great they are at having multiple fights going on and using the Foley, as we've talked about before in different episodes, where we'll cut away from a fight with Sydney and the Saint and the Nazis to Tulip fighting one Nazi in the bus to Eugene fighting Hitler, and all of it tying together with all of the sound. And I mean, even having when the Saint gouges out Sydney's eyes, we don't even see it, we just hear it. And it's almost more horrific to just see Eugene's reaction.
Yeah, by the way, I was listening to last week's episode, if we're talking about the Saint now, and I saw that you were saying, like, stop showing the Saints, like, origin stuff.
I've still had enough from season 2
I
for
know.
me personally.
I
I
know.
get it. I understand. It was a setup for a payoff.
Yes.
I get it. I understand. I just... If I could go back and re-edit season 2 and cut out some of the flashback, then I would feel a lot better about it. That's all I'm saying.
But I
Is
feel
we
like-
spent a lot of time in season 2.
much time.
That's
Too
all I'm
much
saying.
It's true.
That being said, I appreciate the setup payoff from last episode,
Yeah.
talking about it, giving us another little quick reminder, and then it being very important in this episode.
Yes.
I get it. From a writing perspective, I get it. I just have a lot of issues with season 2.
Okay, you can stop
That's it. I'm done.
defending yourself. I'm just, I wasn't going to accuse
Oh
Yeah,
my
no, that's
God,
fine.
we've reopened the tubes here, guys.
Linky Lad in the chat said shade. She called it shade.
That's okay. Look, I love this show, and I'm not afraid to criticize it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel
no, that's
like,
fine.
yeah, I mean, I feel like you're completely justified in that. I mean, now we know why they gave us
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing, like you were saying, where, you know, the lead up for Jodie, where it's explained later with Grandma.
Yeah.
I like that style, but
Yeah.
again, it's a personal preference. So
Yeah.
Speaking of sound, one thing that I love from this Angel of Death is her voice.
Yeah.
And they do a good job of, I'm not sure how that actress sounds. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't know what's manipulation, what's her actual voice.
I think
how
her
low
real voice is when she's talking, when Reichmaster Rick comes out, when she's making fun of his SS, when he's like, I'm SS Rick Smith. Or
That was such a good
yeah,
detail.
so good. When
Yeah.
she's like, then why are you wearing the Luftwaffe medal? I feel like that's the only time that we hear her
That's
real
still
voice.
a little creepy
It is a
low.
little bit,
Yeah.
but
So I don't know if that's how
They
low her
did
voice
that
is.
somewhat with the Warden in season 2.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it came out in a way that was like, and now my voice is
Oh,
manipulated.
okay, yeah. Well, yeah, they go back and
With
forth
this
with
Angel
her.
of Death, they do it subtly
Yeah.
in a way that I really
Yeah.
appreciate.
I'm
and
pretty
they
sure
made her
every time
badass.
she talks, it's at least pitched down like a
Just
like
a
a
little
tone,
bit.
Yeah.
and then they dip it even further, and as opposed
At
to like
some
where the
moments.
Warden, where it was like a normal voice, and at the end of her sentence they would like dip her down, and now she was doing this.
yeah.
Just like that.
One more person.
I'm pretty sure they don't even use an effect; they just do it on set like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
talk real low.
I'm sorry, my lines like this.
At first, during the scene, I was a little upset that we didn't get to see some actual Nazis getting like
Okay, look.
killed. But
I'm glad you said it first. The fight scene between Tulip and that one guy
yeah,
in the bus was incredible.
No,
was
that
good.
was really good.
With the
Yes.
windshield wiper
Oh
fit
man,
And
the
I think
She was, oh my
choreography
God, it was
so good.
I
beautiful.
think that's
like
how
on
they
Now the
made
fight
up.
outside
Yeah.
was awful.
No,
I'm sorry.
no. Shut up.
There was like okay.
Nick,
we
let me
saw
finish my thought.
like go ahead.
Okay, this is my thought. Which you're immediately being like, good, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm going to negate your thought.
Go ahead.
I think that they obviously just didn't have the budget. To do
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
that's why I was like, oh, it's too bad we don't get to see it. How they helped it and how they say, sorry, folks, this is what we can show, is by putting this badass fight sequence at the same time.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you don't get to see the big budget movie stuff outside.
I don't
but
know,
you do get
though.
to see like
would
the
cost
Because
inside.
so
having
much.
the whip and just having the one limb come through the smoke with the whip, I just thought that was dope. I
It
thought
looks
that
super
it was.
CGI-y though.
So
I
spoiled by
liked
HBO.
I know.
Maybe.
I know.
I don't
It
know.
was really good.
I liked it. I liked the whole thing with the smoke and them kind of walking into the, and you just kind of knew like that these soldiers or whatever, those Nazis were getting killed, and at the same time we're getting this great combat scene
Yeah.
inside the. I thought it was. I don't know if I thought it was a budget thing. I thought maybe that it was a stylistic choice.
I
I
also
feel
thought-
a bit of both because it also was each of the three fights had encapsulated something different. So
Yeah.
we had the badassery of Tulip with her windshield wiper versus baton fencing, just awesomeness, and then the comedic relief of having Eugene fight Hitler.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah.
like, I thought that you changed. I did, my soul patch. Like,
Yeah.
and then having the little, like, moments like that while having this is going to be a big plot point setup fight outside.
Also, the set design of the overturned bus
Was very
so
cool.
Oh yeah,
cool.
that
Very
worked
cool.
really
It
well.
was
Yeah.
so cool.
The
It was
shot of the Nazis coming out from behind the tank too was awesome.
Can we talk about the red hat?
Yes.
Yes.
That's my standout moment of
Right?
the whole
I
scene.
was like, yeah, I see it. I know it. I saw that hat.
Because we were talking about beforehand how, like, there is an episode where when that guy first goes like, oh no, they stole Hitler or Helter, you hear that he's listening to conservative talk radio. So they were leaning towards it, and I was like, please
dig into it.
just put a red hat on someone. That's even
Right?
what I thought. And they did that, and they did it in a way that was like
It wasn't too much.
subtle enough that they're not going to piss off everyone, because you can make the excuse of like, well, some people are Trump supporters who might be neo-Nazis, and so it gives enough breathing room where they're not focusing on it. But it was just enough that I was happy that they had that, like, political lean a little
Exact. I loved it. I loved it.
I also really, really just enjoyed just the dialogue and just how they went about the whole saint turn thing. It didn't feel too forced. That they've been laying the groundwork of him getting pissed off, of him finding out the rules have changed,
Yeah.
and the angel of death constantly digging at him. And it didn't feel like, all right, now's the time where you say something to piss him off to turn on you. It was like, no, she's been digging at him.
She's been
She's
digging.
just gonna keep going. But this time, it's too far, and it just it felt so good, especially with the whole. I mean, we haven't even talked about it, but God coming and how that all turns around with the shot turning around to blow up the tank to free him,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Like,
I
that's great
love
writing
that.
to tie those plot lines together like that, because that's
Yeah.
been planned for a while. I
Yeah.
thought that was awesome.
They really knew how to write this season.
No,
This
that was-
season
yeah.
This season
This
was
is
awesome.
This episode also too is just a huge standout.
Yeah.
I,
And having
I,
Tulip talk to God and having her say, you know, like, okay, the O'Hare, validating that the O'Hares are cursed, but then saying, like, in her mind, or God playing off of
Yeah.
that, making
I still
her.
don't know how much I trust God.
Yeah, that's
feel
what I was
like
about
the
to say.
thing is
He's
that
such
he's using her belief
Yeah,
that she's cursed.
I don't trust him very much. And even that conversation, it was just kind of like, he was sort of right eventually with Cassidy, but it was just kind of like, I don't know.
Well,
It's
I love it
take what he
juxtaposed
said
with
that.
Eugene, who just
Yeah.
believes everything, and then Tulip, who's like, well, what do you get? Like, that's her first
Well-
It was
response.
so funny when God was like, "Who's that again?"
Oh, God.
Man.
No.
Man, God, really?
I also
What
felt
a
like
face.
I like seeing the weakness of God in this episode, because you see him go like, what I want is you got to keep Genesis away from me. And you saw him say it, and you
Yeah.
saw him, like, he said it in as strong of a way as possible, but you kind of know that he doesn't want Genesis because he knows that's actually a threat to him.
Yeah.
And this is why he's doing all this. And
I
it's
did
not
love
for
that there's
some
a new
great
girl that popped
I
up
love
too. And
that.
he's like, I
Love
see
the
you.
new girl.
I
see.
I see you in just a second.
Give me a minute.
Yeah, that was funny because she was like, "Are we going? Like, you got me sitting here
You
on
see,
this
I'm here
bike."
waiting for you,
I'm on
God.
this
Bike.
She's like,
He knew. He's like, "I'm coming. Okay, I'm coming."
That was
girl."
so good. I didn't see that
So
coming
good.
at all,
At
too. I was
all.
like, is the angel of death going to step in front of the tank shot? Like, what's going to happen here?
Yeah.
That was really good.
yeah, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And then just,
And
you know,
almost
and
a-
saying that Tulip and Eugene care about each other, and Tulip immediately asking, okay, well, what about Eugene? And then Eugene asking, well, what about Tulip?
Yeah.
And they kind of playing off of the reason that we love these characters so
Yeah.
much is because they're so selfless. They care about the
Well,
people in
so
their,
selfless.
to a point, but I
They're
mean,
working on it.
Yeah.
they
They're
care
getting
about the people in their lives to the point that it makes them more empathetic to us.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'm curious to see what Eugene's path is going to be in the future, because we do see, we might as well skip ahead, right, to where Satan confronts the saint,
yeah,
and that's a great scene. It's a one that if you've been listening to us talking about the comic book version, we've been waiting for it. And I think I love the confrontation. I love asking about who decided to peck out, who decided to kill my family, and him finding out it was God's plan.
Yeah.
That was great.
Mm-hmm.
That brought like a whole new motivation to the saint that I think we're going to play out. And it also tied into Eugene's faith. And all of a sudden he's questioning his faith. And he's following the saint after he leaves. And also when you shoot, I love to be in the room when they were trying to figure out, okay, so we're going to shoot Satan in the head. He can't just bleed, right?
No.
He's got to do something. I think Satan bleeds bats. Yeah, you think bats? Yeah, okay, bats.
But I love too because the whole like we've been talking about like the different kind of like sayings like Jesus tap dancing Christ and then like you know he's got bats in the brain and like literally showing like he's insane, he's batty, he's got like literal bats crawling out of his head. I loved it. I love because it's all these being from Alabama. I'm like these are all these like Southern expressions that they're just diving into and then having it tie into the New Orleans. I loved it.
Yeah.
I like the soft spot that maybe it's not totally a soft spot, but I felt like I peeped it when he first went to go get Eugene, when the Saints killer went to go get him, and they had that where Eugene was talking to him and he like paused for a second or whatever, but then was like whatever, and then you get this moment where he was like, yeah, let's go. And it wasn't cute, but it was like clearly in all of this, he's grown somewhat,
right?
Fond of Eugene. Because when Satan hits Eugene, he's like, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
He
also knows now too that Eugene wasn't supposed to be in hell. So he tells him, and he's like, so all the rules have changed. So he's like, this kid has just gotten sucked into this.
Yeah, he recognizes an innocent.
Yeah.
He feels like there should at least be rules.
He's like, you're right. You shouldn't be
he found that out on the bus, too. Like, that Tulip didn't die either. And he was still, at first, it was like they were still writing.
Right.
But I did feel like once they got down there, it was like, okay, no, I'm done,
And it is interesting, too, to see Eugene, the tie-in of having Satan say, Jesse Custer, oh, well, I have a contract with him. That's so, fortuitous, the serendipity of it. And then Eugene saying, oh, that's the preacher who sent me down here. You're going to go get the preacher who left me here. I'm coming with you. And seeing that change, I loved it.
Did you think that was a little silly?
It just seemed like such a fast turn that I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see what happens next season, but it seemed like he so quickly went from like, yeah, God has a plan, blah, 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 to like when he's leaving, he's like...
I'm not sure what he's thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I may be reading into it too much, but...
But it's also like, where's he going to go? He's just going to hang out in hell with new Satan, a.k.a. Hilter, in a...
That's what I was like, okay, Hitler's run his course, we're going to send him back to hell, and put him in... And now he's like the king of hell?
Yeah, I kind of was like...
I did think that was a bit much. I feel like it was just for the visualization of having him still wearing the Starbucks thing. I feel like that's
funny.
like to me it was funny, but I felt like it was.
I kind of want Hitler. Listen, I'm going to go out on a limb here. This might be controversial, but I want Hitler to be tortured in hell.
You want bad things to happen to Hitler. You don't want great things to happen to Hitler.
Yeah, I feel like he kind of wins a little bit in the end, and it kind of bothered me.
I mean, there's definitely some merit to saying that Hitler is Satan, basically, that he's like the king of hell at this point because he's an awful person.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you, especially with what we've seen already. I would like to see him back in his cell, in the cafe in Germany, getting turned down by that woman forever in his hell. Right.
Getting offered
instead
the
of
cake.
exactly. Instead of getting I didn't even
he wanted flaky.
Yeah.
I didn't even catch that.
He got offered the
forgot
cake,
about that.
and it was a moment where he actually succeeds, which is I'm hoping what they're going to do.
I know.
Well, I'm hoping what they're doing is they're creating something that has to be tied up in the end. I'm hoping he gets a little dethroned by the end of this series, at least. Yeah. Because he can't...
He has to. I mean, I feel like...
That's now a loose
I think that's... Yeah, because they're like, look, we need another season or else Hitler's running hell.
Yeah.
If you don't give us another season, that's on you.
It also actually like
genius.
You know what I read that as is like, we gotta kill Satan by the end of this. It's in the comics. We gotta do it. We built this really cool office.
Yeah.
I don't want to get rid of it. How do we use it? It's like, let's just make Hitler the king of hell.
Yeah.
You got it. All right. Now we can use him for another season or two.
I was into all of this, and then having Tulip go off to go find Cass, who we see his whole storyline, which was different than what we thought. We kind of thought that he was going to be... I mean, we knew that he was going to turn on Aquarius.
By the way, I don't get to always watch the next week on, and so when I was watching the show, your guys' show, last week, which I was afraid I had to miss, and you guys started talking about, like, what's on next week's episode, and you saw the vampire, everyone as a vampire?
Yeah.
That's a big spoiler.
Yeah.
I was like glad I didn't know
AMC.
they all got turned. Like that's like
I was kind of surprised that they showed that, honestly.
yeah, like that's just knowing that people turned into, and you guys all guessed who they were going to attack and how they were going to
course.
save him, and they shouldn't have shown
I
that.
did love that Mrs. Rosen and Kevin were the ones
Yeah.
that survived.
Yeah.
That they still
I'm
made
glad,
it out.
yeah.
I'm glad. But man,
Eternity
proving
with your
that
mom.
Hoover does suck.
Oh, stop. You've just become a father throughout the course of this season.
I have nothing but dad jokes.
I feel like
Hoover, can
I
we talk
don't
about
want him
Hoover?
to be dead, but like, how do
He's
you?
dead. He can't
He's
come
a
Dude,
back.
clone.
we
He's coming
need
back as a
another
clone.
Hoover. We need another
That's
Hoover.
what exactly what he
Yeah.
said. He's like, "Can you give me another Hoover?"
I
I
think
think
he's
they
gonna
cloned
clone
him.
Did he
we-
say that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
we
said
need
he's
another
like-
Hoover.
Yeah, and Feather Stone was like, "I'll see what I can
Okay.
do."
They-
So I
okay,
don't think
yeah.
they're getting rid of the actor.
Then,
He's
yeah.
too.
Yeah,
he
he's
has
coming
and he
back.
has other stuff he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
as well.
Well,
Because we
definitely
already
with the
know that they
Humperdew
have the
stuff
clone.
too.
Yeah, so we know that they have
Yeah.
clones probably.
Yeah.
Of,
I don't think
Yeah.
they got rid of it.
That's
And I
what I'm
think
hoping.
I feel like her
Yeah.
star. I mean, although I know her star did not care about him at all, I just felt like he killed him way too. It was just kind of like idiot, you know.
Yeah.
I felt like it wouldn't be this thing like I just totally killed you. It's like, okay, I killed that part. You know, give me another
Wait,
one.
what are you talking about?
Like when he like takes the hat off and he just lets them
Oh,
burn, and it's just
yeah.
like idiot. You know,
Yeah,
he
if
turns
he
back
has
around
a
like,
backup,
and he's
then
like, "Give me, I need
thought
another
you were
Hoover."
joking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's like, "Just give me another Hoover."
the hat.
I like he just doesn't
know.
notice them. He doesn't notice them at all.
He doesn't. Well, he keeps calling her like Fluffer, whatever.
Fluffer
like,
Stone or something?
Not even Stone, like something else. Yeah, just like.
Speaking of hair star though, him in that combat suit with the vest on
Yeah.
and seeing the rest of the Grail like that. Oh, that's what I've been waiting for.
Yes.
You also
Oh, that's
really,
what I've been waiting
you
for.
really do notice how much his head looks like a dick. Too.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think his head looks more like a dick in the show than it does in the comic. In the
Oh, for
comic,
sure.
you just have a line.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and it took me a while.
Here you
to
got
be
the
like,
shading, and they've even like
Yeah.
darkened, like the.
It has the lips.
You
Yeah,
know that
that's
his
what I'm
makeup
saying.
artist
That's
is
what I mean.
having like a field
So
day
much
every
fun.
day where they're like,
So much
all
fun.
right, I'm going to make a dickhead.
Flufferman.
I can't wait for some
Flufferman.
great overhead shots of him like walking into rooms.
Some over dickhead shots.
It's gonna be great.
Oh, this is interesting. Kevin Murphy says Hoover has memory loss. Hoover was always an idiot, so maybe this isn't the first
only
clone
Hoover clone?
That's what I
Hoover.
started
Yeah,
to
I
think.
think
Yeah,
that's
no,
what
that's
I'm
exactly
thinking.
what
It's
I was like. Okay, he's become a vampire. I mean, as inept as he usually is, how has he not died?
Yeah.
Before,
Yeah,
you know what I
sure.
mean? How has he
makes
not died? so
Yeah.
I think it makes sense
But it
that
is-
he'd be coming back around.
We're just hoping because we like that actor
Yeah,
a lot.
he's so
we just
funny.
want him
I
to
love
come
that
back.
actor.
He
Such a great
works too.
dynamic
But I
for the
love
show.
it.
Yeah,
Like
he works
the-
for the show.
When Cass is on the phone with Tulip though, and
Yeah,
Hoover,
that was
and,
emotional.
like this sweet moment that's broken
he's
up. And they're
cool
like
now.
Hoover, and he's like, oh, it's Hoover. She's like Hoover. He's like, oh no, he's cool now, so don't worry about it. They're talking to him. I thought we talked about not being a dick anymore, man. Like,
There's one thing I'm a little sad about is we got a little bit of it this episode when Cass gets his comeback, but like I kind of miss. We haven't seen a badass Cass in a long time.
Yeah.
I kind of thought, like how you were saying, was that Cass would then become the leader of these people, but instead they all die. So it's like, okay,
and now
well, we
he's
need
now he's in jail. Now he's like
About to get
stuck.
about to get
Tortured.
tortured
Yeah,
by
he's,
like the.
he's in Masada, and it feels like I've seen Mopey Cass for a very long time. I'm ready for a couple of different shades of Cass.
Really, you're not excited to see Frankie Toscano just beat the shit out of him and just him cry some more, be sad?
No, I don't want that. I want him to I want him to be a little badass. I want him to kind of get away from people and hang out in like in some sort of ghetto for a while.
I feel like it's coming. I feel like, I mean, considering now that we've set up the evil of the Grail and how they are now an established army, and we have the Grail intending to kill Jesse, torture the shit out of him,
Yeah.
and kill him.
Can we also talk about his cellmate?
Yeah, an angel.
I was surprised because that's something from the comics, and I didn't think they were going to go there.
I
really
didn't
didn't think
either.
they would. So I'm curious to see how they use him and how because that's also a different angel than we've seen.
Yeah.
The angels we're used to now are just like normal people that can die and keep coming back. So this is an angel full on wings. So I'm curious to see what they do with him.
I think it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, up until this point, we've been asking what the hell. Now we can ask what the cell. That was just for you, Nate.
Great.
I really
man,
do.
am I
feel
gonna
like-
miss everyone here.
I do think that it's a really good setup, though, because we know when the three of them are united and they're all on the same team, that they fight really hard, and that's what brings Cass out, is like when he feels this sense of family.
Yeah.
Because Icarius even asked him, what are you going to do now? You're just going to go back to your lonely, loveless life? And he's like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, but having these other two people kind of help validate him. And because up until this point,
He also, like, that call from Tulip meant a lot to him.
Yeah, he
Because
got
it-
really emotional.
Yeah.
Like, I heard that in the voice. I was like, wow.
Because it was someone who, like, he just lost someone who he thought cared for him. And suddenly he got a call from someone who he's fallen in love with, but is asking for if he's okay. And just just someone asking if you're okay, that's what gets you.
And mind you, last time he pushed her away on the phone too.
Yeah,
He told her, he's like, Tulips and Jesse's will come in my life and go. Like, I'll be here after you. And she still like felt, and I think that meant a lot. And also, I think it's funny that we talk about family, because Jesse was like, family is overrated. But really, you know, it's kind of funny because the family actually is the three of them.
The family you're forced with.
family
is
you
overrated.
create.
Family
Yeah.
you choose is more important.
I love that.
That's Dave's lesson of the day.
That was
That's
his
a
TED talk.
beautiful note
Dun,
to
dun,
end
dun,
on as well. But before we get out of here, do you guys have any maybe predictions for next season?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to know where they're going to go
Yeah.
now. Like,
Your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
one thing I'm wondering, and I don't believe this is a spoiler, but like from the comics. So if you're worried about it, shut your ears for a second. But
Spoiler alert!
Okay.
Hey, look at that.
Spoiler
nice.
alert!
But I am wondering if the angel in the cell with them, we're gonna find out more about that angel, and I'm wondering if that angel has anything to do with Genesis, because we also do know that Genesis is from the spawn of an angel and a devil,
And a
and
demon,
and a demon. So it'll be interesting to see if that's like if
Renji
maybe,
90998 asked the same question.
Yeah,
Thought
yeah.
one
How
of
is
like
it gonna
maybe
tie
it's
in? Yeah.
one of the parents.
So I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
And we're also going to see Jesse storm that castle. And we're going to
That'll
see how
be-
that goes.
Have
Well,
fun
what army,
storming
you know?
the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what storylines we're going to use from the comic that's going to come back, because I have no idea.
They
Yeah,
can go
at
to that
this point.
town
Maybe.
with the black sheriff woman.
Oh.
I think they have to at this
Yeah.
point. There's not.
That's
too much else
Eugene's
to
They already
name.
use it?
Kind
In a
of.
way, because of the meat
Kinda.
guy?
But they can always, I mean, they've set up things that they can circle back to, which is nice. The way that they've established a lot of the things in this show was very, very smart, because
Yeah.
they've already established the precedent of they do a lot of callbacks, and very, very subtle ones, in some cases. So I'm interested to see where it goes. I feel like it could go a multitude of directions, and considering we've seen kind of the artistic liberties that they've taken as well, and really making the show its own and separate from the comics in many regards, I'm interested to see if they're gonna how original the next storyline is going to come for
Right.
the show.
I mean, I definitely think there are some plot lines within, like I just said, like the whole thing about the town. I think there are some plot lines that they could explore in a kind of rejiggered way or whatever, and that to me might be one of them. But just
Can someone say sex detectives?
oh,
We haven't had those guys.
We absolutely have to get that next season.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't think there's any way that we don't get that next
I'm ready. I'm not. I think that's enough of a heads up for people that don't know the comics. But
I think
just-
4 seasons is enough now, where Seth and them are going to be like,
Yeah.
yeah, now it's time.
now
We're
it's
ready
time.
now.
We've earned the right to bring. In
My
the six
question is, how many more seasons do you guys want? Because being comic book fans, we know that there is an end to the story, and in TV sometimes they don't like to do that. And I'm just wondering where you guys land on that. I would like 1, maybe 2 more seasons,
I think
especially if
6
they take this same pace that they took this season, where they've got a great story, they pace it out through the season, and they come to a great end at the end of the season. I would like 2 more.
I'm seeing 2 more because
Yeah.
I think this is a giant spoiler if you haven't read the comics. So maybe don't listen. But I think.
Spoiler
Thank you.
alert!
Yeah.
But I think he's gonna lose his eye by the end of
Yeah.
this season.
Yes. I
think
And
so,
then
too.
we're gonna see what happens after that.
Yes.
And I think that's a great moment to end next
Yes.
season on. So that's if they're smart, 2 more seasons.
I think
so,
it's going to
too.
be
I think that would be
3, just
perfect.
because I think they're going to interject a lot of original content that's
In
going to
between.
stretch it.
I don't know. I feel like it might maybe be two. One, I mean, for outside reasons, because you have like two of the actors who are like in movies a lot of the time. I think eventually they're going to want to start doing a bit more of those, especially Ruth. Like, I just, she's like a hot commodity in that sense, and I feel like maybe it's kind of like maybe they wouldn't want to do like a certain other comic show that's gonna keep going, and I'm gonna lose one of my favorite characters, and it's been going on for like 8 seasons, and it's like you should have ended maybe 6 seasons in,
Right.
Yeah.
and told a good solid
Walking
story. Thank you. Yes, Walking Dead. I'm sorry, guys.
All right.
Well, I think we got to get out of here,
Yeah.
which is kind of a bummer because it's our last show. But in the meantime, until next season, where can everybody keep up with you guys?
Well, I'm going to miss all of you guys, but you can find me at DaveChild.com or at MRDaveChild on the Twitter and the Instagram. I love you. My name's Dave Child.
you can also
TC,
find
is
us
that
at your
you?
local petting zoo.
You know what? I'm okay right here. Just burn down the studio.
Oh my gosh. This is the only family I know.
The only family I know is AfterBuzz.
Oh, that's so sad. Hey, and you can find me at Miss Chauncey KR on Twitter, and this has been such a fun experience.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Nate Miller here. You can find me on all social media at Dog Like Nate.
I'm Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at that Alana Jordan Girl. And you can catch us all here at AfterBuzz TV. And hopefully we'll be back next season too. Hopefully they will be too.
Thanks for
But-
joining us on the chat this entire time.
Yeah,
guys.
thanks,
It's been
y'all.
You
great.
guys, you're the best fans ever. So hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye guys.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later, y'all.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.